This is a comparison of hemp and flax. As you can see, the flax is shorter and thinner than the hemp. Hemp and flax are the two most common vegetable fibers that are used for making linen. The average size for hemp is about 16 feet tall, and this is slightly shorter than that. The average size for flax is about 3 feet, which is about the size of what you see there. Hemp has been cultivated for about 10,000 years. It originated in China, and it came over to North America from Europe in the 1500s as a fiber crop that was mostly grown for rope. Drug versions of hemp came over in the 1800s. These varieties have a high THC content, which is the drug component that isn't found in fiber hemp. In 1923, prohibition was put on hemp growing, and this was all hemp's fiber and drug varieties. Around the year 2000, moratorium on growing fiber hemp was lifted, and you can now grow it legally under license, and they test for the various types of THC content. Retting is the process by which they cut down the plants, they leave them on the field, and they let the bacteria act on it, and it helps to break down the structure that holds the fiber to the core, and that allows us to break the flax easier and to produce fibers far easier than trying to produce fiber from something that hasn't been retted. This is two different types of hemp, and the difference in the color tells you how it was retted. So the one at the bottom, the darker one, is field retted. The one at the top is snow retted. The field retting gives you a much darker color than snow retting. Snow retting is a much slower process. There's two other forms of retting that you can do, which are pond retting and stream retting. Stream retting will give you a very white fiber. Pond retting gives you something very similar to field retting. The break itself is removing the center portion of the hemp or the flax. It breaks it up and it falls to the ground below. You'll notice that I'm turning it back and forth. That's so that I can get both the top and the bottom broken evenly. Unretted hemp or flax does not break well. The core wants to stay attached to the fibers, and it doesn't fall off as easily, and you can see all the curd is what it's called, falling below. So for hemp, for the thick hemp, you can't break it. It's too strong, it'll actually break your brakes. So instead what they would do is they would peel the fiber off of the core of the plant, or curd is what it's called when it's broken into bits. And core is what it's called when it's a big stick, like what I'm holding in my hand. And you want all the bark off the stick. It's useless, and that would actually break my brake. So what they would do is then strip it. But when you get to the smaller ends of the plant, you can actually break them and pull off a little bit of extra fiber. Sometimes you can get the small remains of the fibers, and you want as much of the fiber and the epidermis, so the epidermis is the outer layer, off as you can get, because that's what you make your thread out of. Scutching is the next step in the process, and you scutch either hemp that's been broken or flax that's been broken. To do that, you take usually it's a wooden knife. In this case with hemp is hardier than flax, a tougher fiber, so I'm using a metal knife, and I'm using the dull side of the metal knife. And what you do is you pound and scrape the fibers, and you release all the little remaining bits of hurd that are left on the plant. Once you've gotten rid of all the hurd, the core, you can then use it for hackling. Here I'm taking the stripped fibers and I'm going to hackle them, or heckle them is the other way it's said. And what that is to pull your stripped fiber or your broken and scotch fiber through a bed of nails until you've broken up the thicker pieces of the plant. You don't actually push it down onto the nails, you drag it over top of them. If you push it down, you break the fiber, and then you go through the next smaller set of hackles, and you keep doing this with smaller and finer beds of nails. This is only the first two, so the big nails are 12 nails per square inch. This is 24 nails per square inch. You can do 48 or 96, and the highest level for flax is 128 from what I can tell. And this is some stuff I pre-processed to 86 per square inch, and you can see it's much finer. I would use 24 for thread string, and the higher grade stuff for linen weight woven fabric. Once you've broken and scotched and hackled your fiber, you then spin it. You have to spin any vegetable fibers wet. You can use water. They'd often either use a mixture of the hurd that falls from the break boiled in water so that you get sort of a very thin liquid with a little bit of glue in it. Or they'd use spit, because the enzymes in your spit break down the outer layers of the fiber of a plant. Plant fibers are much smoother than animal fibers microscopically, and so you absolutely have to spin using something to bind the fibers together, or they will just slip past each other and they will not stay wound together. That will give you linen thread that you can then make clothes out of. You wind it, once it's spun, you wind it on the spindle, and you would continue spinning on the next piece.